Hey guys, it's Amelia. I'm running not running, with Godless. She's running a 2K group, 2.1K experience, so hopefully we'll be going against other teams that are between 19 and 2100, so we can get some good matches here. I want to discuss some Holy Priest talents. It's a bit late in the expansion. I mean, it's only a month and a half before BFA comes out, but a lot of what I say here is going to apply in BFA as well, even with the way they're changing and shaking up the talent trees and loss of artifacts. So, while this group is forming up, let's talk about rock comps, enemy rock comps, and how to heal against them. You have two viable specs. Discipline actually functions very well against rock comps, but it's not the focus of this video today, so let's talk about Holy. Let's say I had Gilneas, right? And Gilneas is known for having epic 5 to 10 minute stalemates at the waterworks that go on and on and on. These giant team fights. So when you have a stationary team fight that you know is going to go on against a rock comp, or any comp, it doesn't matter, you want to take Relentless, because you want to reduce the amount of time you are out of, that you are in stuns or CC. Over a 5 to 10 minute fight, the amount of time you gain back from Relentless far outshines the need for the medallion. And if you have two other competent healers like Godless and Wax Off, I played with both of these guys, you don't have to worry about dying without your medallion. Next, if you're against Rot, you want to run Vim and Vigor and keep yourself personally above 80% at all times. Some people think that they should take this, but haste doesn't help you against Rot. It really doesn't. You need more throughput, so you want Vim and Vigor to increase your healing by 20%. And increasing your healing by 20% is what will probably prevent your team members from falling under 50% to begin with. There's no need for inner focus because we're going to take Holy Concentration in a team fight like this. I'm going to talk about Master Spell in a moment, but when you're fighting a rock comp, there isn't that much hard casting. You're going to be insta-casting, Renew, and Prayer Amending, and Purify, so we're taking the Purification talent. We already have Relentless to reduce our incoming crowd control. Holy Ward reducing a single crowd control isn't going to do anything in a 5 to 10 minute fight, even though you can cast it every 30 seconds. It's just not worth it. It can be, first of all, it can be purged off of you. There's other silly ways to get it off of you if they really want to get you. So you need to have as many purifies as possible, and that actually come into Master Spell rotation that I use against rock comps. So, what other talents do we have we want to look at? Rapid Mending, this is a must against rock comps. You cannot be hard casting Prayer Mending. You will be a completely ineffectual healer. Not to mention, there's no need to cast. There's no need for a double shot Serenity. There's no need for G heal against a rock comp. If anything, you want to keep people's health pools lower to some extent. That would only be a burden, trying to keep somebody up like that. So, Ray of Hope always. Ray of Hope always. The only time I ever use Spirited Redeemer is on Eye of the Storm and I'm fighting a Grip Knock team. You can actually use this to cheese your way out of being knocked if you're Greater Fate. And you only do that if they're running a Guardian Druid or a Vengeance Demon Hunter. You know, basically spin the mid and Grip Knock strats. Other than that, is Ray of Hope 99.9% of the time, no matter what your fight facing. Against a rock comp, because you're running Vim and Vigor, don't be afraid to precast Ray on yourself in order to preserve your Vim and Vigor talent. When you cast Ray, your health bar gets frozen for 6 seconds, so it's above 80%, and you know you're about to get hit. Go ahead and just Ray yourself early. Somebody pulls you out on that, just ignore it. If you get lobbed from the group like I do sometimes, take it on the chin and move on. You know, it's just logic. Rock comps don't do that much single target damage to where having used your Ray in another situation would have made a difference. Alright, how about your other talents, your regular talents? You want to use Enlightenment here. You're not going to be casting Flash Heal as a rock comp very often, that is. If you are, you have to do it after your Holy Concentration has already been procced from a prior interrupt. That being said, rock comps on Gilneas, these 10-minute fights, it's all about mana regeneration. And it's usually the team whose healers run out of mana first of the teams that wipe at Waterworks in Gilneas. No need for perseverance here. Reducing your own damage by 10% against a rock comp is irrelevant. Having Angelic Feather is actually better because you can either move yourself away from their casters and line of sight them at certain points, or you can put a feather on the ground and mind control them into it and make them run away from your group to decrease their DPS throughput. Same thing with Shining Force. A lot of people do take Afterlife in Gilneas, but I don't think you should be planning on dying. That's pretty sad. The only way that would work is if both priests took it. That's not usually going to happen. It's still going to be worth it. Having a knock is a good pseudo-interrupt. It's a good way to knock enemy casters, enemy rotters, and enemy healers away from the group to decrease their throughput. Okay, this is a great question for me when it comes to rock comps. Because you're not really casting Sanctify or Prayer Healing or Flash Heal that much. Is this truly necessary? I actually think Guardian Angel would be the right talent, but I'm not going to risk being lobbed from a group for that. So just go with Light of the Naru. It's the end of the expansion. Don't get yourself labeled as a bad healer for no reason. Just stick with Light of the Naru. Piety, this is the Piety and Benediction. These are very important talents. Very important talents when against a rock comp, especially with rapid mending. This is reducing the cooldown of your prayer of mending by 2 seconds. And it's and Benediction is automatically casting renews for you. You don't really want to be sorry, I didn't see she had talked to me. Yeah, you don't want to be hard casting renews unless you got I was just talking. Alright, so Prayer of Mending is... Sorry, let's talk about renews. So she's asking me if people are good or bad. I just shit-talked somebody, now I have to talk to them. I don't know what to say. God, one more time. So we'll talk about renews. Okay. So you don't want to be hard casting renew simply because you don't want to run out of mana. That's why you're running Enlightenment. Only time you start hard casting renews against a rock comp is if you got very unlucky with the RNG from Benediction. Now, One thing that happens at Waterworks is there is a little hut that you can hide inside of and line of sight them, and Divine Hymn heals from pillars and heals through walls, as does Prayer Mending. It will bounce through walls. So let's pretend this gate here is this pit here is the hut inside of next to Waterworks. What you would do here is cast a Prayer Mending and then run inside, then cast your Divine Hymn. That's what you would do. Now, ideally, you want to make full use of your Purification talent. So what I usually do is I'm getting ready to cast Divine Hymn against a rock comp. I'll cast one Prayer Mending, one Purify, and that will usually get you silenced or feared for 2 seconds for dispelling those dots. That. Then you're going to run inside, use your Divine Hymn. When you come out, Divine Hymn is over. You know, you might get lucky and get the whole 8 seconds out of it, but when it's over, your Prayer Mending will be on cooldown again, and one of your Purification charges will have come back. That way you're not wasting any throughput. Now, for mass dispelling against a rock comp, that can be trickier than you think. If I just cast a spell and my Holy Concentration is enough, I'm going to get locked out of healing for 5 seconds. So, there's 2 ways to get your Holy Concentration talent up before casting Mass Dispel, because the rock comps are going to stop you from casting Mass Dispel, by the way. So you're going to get interrupted when you cast it. But you have to cast it at some point, and you have to land it at some point without getting interrupted. So there's a cheesy way you can do it, right? You can go up to somebody and I use a mouse over, cast Mind Control. If you cast this on an enemy healer, I can guarantee you will be interrupted. A smarter team, however, will use a stun or a CC on you in order to not proc your Holy Concentration. They know that you're actually trying to juke them. So what happens when you're fighting a smarter team that actually is fully well aware of how Holy Concentration works? When I say a smart team, I'm going to 2,400 teams. You'll never have to worry about that against even a 2k or 2.1k team in my experience. You can just cast Mind Control and you'll get your Holy Concentration up from there. If you're fighting a smarter team, what you need to do is take your first Holy Interrupt when you really don't care. And you need to do it without losing throughput. So very similar to Divine Hymn, which is why I discussed this first, you will first cast Prayer Mending to trigger its cooldown and a charge of Purify. Then you will cast Mass Dispel. You will get interrupted for 5 seconds, so they're not going to let you complete. It's going to be something like this. Bang, interrupt, 5 seconds. While you're interrupted for those 5 seconds, you're not really losing much throughput because Prayer Mending is already on cooldown. Benediction, the talent, is putting down the renews for you. And one of your Purify charges from this talent is restoring the Purify charge, which is also on an 8-second cooldown like Piety. That's why it's really nice to have them like that. So, look like this. Ready? Prayer Mending, Purify. You're going to cast a Mass Spell. You're going to get interrupted. Then your Holy Concentration will go off. So you'll be locked out for about 5 seconds. But it's okay, because once that's over, your Prayer Mending is back again. Everything is good. And now you have Holy Concentration, so they know that you're going to try and cast it again. That's fine. Let them interrupt you because you have Holy Concentration. It's fine. The longest that silence will last on you is for 0.7 seconds. 0.7. Not even a full second, so it's not really a deal. And make sure that while you're between each attempt to cast Mass Dispel, make sure you're using at least you're casting Prayer of Mending and one charge of Purify before you go ahead and get yourself locked out. So that's how Rot works. Now there's other things you can do. If I see there's a Shadow Priest, we'll say there's a Shadow Priest here. And he's sort of on the edge of combat, staying as far away from my team as possible while still being able to hit them with spells. If I don't need to cast Mass Dispel, then I need to cast Mind Control. So I'm going to hit myself with a Prayer of Mending, just like I do with Divine Hymn and Mass Dispel. Hit myself with a Purify. Now I'm going to Mind Control the Shadow Priest. And I'm going to send him as far away as I can. And I'm going to do that with a Feather. So watch what happens here. Feather. Maybe it doesn't work on mobs. It doesn't work on mobs, but it makes actual players run faster. He finally thinks you're done with it. So this would be the third Mind Control, right? This would be a very short one. I'd only get him about that far. And then it would end from diminishing returns. I'm then going to I can't stun this boar because I'll kill him, but pretend I stunned him. I'm going to knock him, and then I'm going to stun him. And that actually kept him out of combat for a long time. While I'm doing that, I am casting Prayer of Mending and Purify while doing this. So, let's take this boar. Yeah, you see Mass Dispel doesn't have to be cast yet. This is a good way to get your concentration up by getting a Shadow Interrupt. They can't stun and CC you forever, so they're gonna have to interrupt you. So I cast Prayer Mending, maybe Renew if it's not on me, maybe Purify if I have 2 charges. And then go forward and so let's say it's about to end. Right before it ends, I'm going to cast Prayer Mending, and that's how, instead of using Stop Cast macro, I'm going to stop cast it just by casting Prayer Mending on the way out of it. Do it again, and Prayer Mending, Purify, then the third one, like that. That would be very short. Knock him, stun him, and keep him away from the group. You should have your Shadow interrupt your holy thing, so go ahead and cast a Mass Dispel after that if it needs to be cast. Holy Concentration should be up after all those Mind Controls. Somebody would have been forced to interrupt in the Shadow School. So that's how that works for Rot, and that's just for Gilneas. I mean, that's just for Gilneas. So I'm gonna pause this video, and depending on what we face, could be rock comps, could be melee comps, could be burst range comps, could be mixed comps. I will tell you the talents I'm choosing and why I'm choosing them, and then you can see how I'm applying those talents. In the battlefield. Alright, I'm going to close this video out.